Hello, my dear students and the rest of the learners. Welcome to part 1 of a 29-part series of tutorials in Fundamentals of Structured Programming using C. In this tutorial, we are going to be looking at how to prepare to be able to code a C program. My name is MemGM, or you can simply call me Emily Swap. So in this presentation, which is part 1 of a 29-part series of tutorials, we are going to look at the introduction to structured programming, loading of Falcon IDE and identifying its parts, and creating a C file in readiness for coding. What is a structured programming? Programming generally is the process of developing computer instructions using a particular programming language in order to solve a particular problem. A programming language is therefore a set of instructions or a tool that is used for writing computer programs, which is composed of a special set of symbols that can be translated into machine-readable form by the computer when arranged in a particular sequence or order. In other words, my dear students and the rest of the learners, when we are speaking about writing programs or coding programs using C programming language, we are simply talking about that process of writing a set of instructions that can be able to inform the computer on what to do using a certain programming language. And therefore, in the same way that you must be able to speak in a language that a user can be able to understand, that is the same way that you have to give instructions to the computer using a language that the computer can be able to understand. And one of the methods or ways of writing such instructions that can be understood by the computer to perform a certain activity is to use a certain programming language and writing instructions in the syntax for that language, which then can be converted or translated in order to be able to instruct the hardware on what to do and how to do it. And therefore, when we speak about structured programming, we are speaking about a methodology of coding programs that uses a restricted set of constructs that are simple, safe, and powerful in controlling the flow of execution of a set of instructions. These three constructs are what we call the sequence, the selection, and repetition that we are going to be looking into later in subsequent series of this set of presentations. The goal of structured programming is simply to organize and simplify the program design and the coding process in order to prevent errors and to ensure that there is early detection of any errors that may remain. It is aimed on improving the clarity, the quality and development time of a computer program through intensive use of control structures. An example of a structured programming language is C, and that is the language that we're going to be using to write our instructions throughout this sequence or throughout the series of 29 parts of videos. So, for you to be able to write a C program, you must make use of what we call an IDE. So, before you can be able to start writing your instructions in your computer, in C language, you first of all have to install an integrated development environment that then you can be able to use to manipulate the instructions that you are writing using C language. And therefore, in this series, in the 29-part series of tutorials on writing C programs, we are going to be making use of what we call the Falcon. That is Falcon IDE. And therefore, before you can begin writing your instructions, or before you begin writing your programs in C, it is advisable that you first of all install in your computer what we call Falcon C++ IDE. So, how do you load Falcon IDE? So, to be able to develop a source code For a program in C, you need to have installed an application that can provide you with an integrated development environment, in which case, in the series of these tutorials, we are going to be making use of what we call the Falcon C++, but we're going to be using it to develop C programs. The IDE, or Integrated Development Environment, is an interface and environment that we use to create our programs. It is provided by a programming language to provide the programmer with various utilities that play certain key roles in the programming process. Therefore, to code the C programs, you need to first load the app that will provide you with an integrated development environment, for example, Falcon C++. If it's not installed, you need to download it from the internet and install it in your computer. My dear students and the rest of the learners, kindly note that Falcon C++ or Falcon IDE is a free program. It is freeware. And therefore, if it is not installed in your computer, just connect your computer to the internet, then load your browser, then search for Falcon C++ and download it, then install it in your computer. Once you have installed your program, or once you have installed your Falcon C++, you can then proceed and open it or load it. To load Falcon C++, just search for it from the Start menu or through the search button from taskbar and open it in the same way you open any other program that has been installed in your computer. I repeat, if Falcon is not installed in your computer, kindly search for it from the internet, then download it and install it in your computer. Then once it is installed, load it anytime you want to open or you want to create programs in C. The Falcon C++ IDE employ a variety of different components that are used to present information about the project that you are developing. Some of those components that are accessed through the various menus and submenus and that you can make use of while working on your C programs include the file menu. The file menu contains various commands that you can use. These include new, to be used when you want to create a new project or a program. Then we have open, that you can use anytime you want to open a previously coded program. We have reopen, if you want to reopen a program that you created. We have save, that is used to store the instructions you have written for future reference. We have save as, that you can use when you want to save your file or your source file in a different storage location or with a different name. We have save all, an option that we usually use when we want to save both the project and also the files you have created. We have import, that you can use whenever you want to load or to get data from another source into your C program. We have export, that you can use when you want to take out program or the content instructions and use them for other activities. We have close all, both that you can use when you want to close any open programs or any open projects. We have remove, we have print, we have exit, amongst others. Then we have what we call the edit. And the edit menu, we have various options such as an undo, that you can always use when you have done something that you want to undo it. For example, you might have deleted some programs by mistake. So you can immediately click on undo to return what has been deleted. We have redo when we want to reverse what you have already done. We have copy, we have cut, we have paste, delete, select all, format. We also have search menu that you can use to find, replace, go to function, go to line number, etc. We have the view menu, which has various options, such as project manager, status bar. We have the compiler output, toolbars, full screen, zoom. My dear students and the rest of the learners, This is a very important menu that you can always use whenever you want to display something that is not displayed or you want to hide a tool that is displayed. We have project menu, which is an option that contains various options such as add, remove, build, and properties. We have run menu. This is a very important menu that you always interact with during your program. This contains options such as run, whenever you want to run your program, compile, when you want it to have your source code converted to objective code, and also enable you to be able to identify any errors and also rectify them if they are displayed. We have execute. We have toggle breakpoint for debugging. We have step into, step over, run to cursor, or options that are used for debugging. And then we have stop. Then we have the tool menu or tools menu. The tools menu contains options such as environment options, the compiler options, and data options. And also we have the help menu, which is Falcon help and update. My dear students and the rest of the learners, let us load our Falcon C++ so that we can be able to see how it looks like. The process, therefore, that I'm going to demonstrate is the set of steps that you always need to carry out before you can begin writing your program. So how do you load Falcon C++? Remember, before you can be able to commence writing programs in C programming language, you must first of all load an IDE. There are various types of IDEs that you can use to handle or manipulate C programs, like Microsoft Visual Studio and the others, but the simplest to use is Falcon. It is light and it is very easy to apply and use. Remember, I have said, first of all, install it in your computer. Once it is installed, you then proceed to load it. In other words, always start Falcon. Once you have started Falcon, you can then be able to proceed and write your C program. So how do you start Falcon in your computer? This is how you do it. So to load or start your IDE, that is Falcon IDE, you need to click on Start menu, and then you can click on All Apps and search for it. Let's see if we have Falcon installed. Here it is, Falcon C++. So you click on Falcon C++, and then you click on Falcon C++ here. So let's click it. Once you click, you wait for your IDE to be displayed. Let's also see another way of doing the same. You can click on Start menu, and then under search here, you type Falcon. If it is installed in your computer, you'll be able to see an icon for it. That is Falcon, C++. So you can click on it. Now, once you have clicked, you wait for it to load. And after loading, this is what we are going to see. You can see it is Falcon C++. But kindly note that our programs we are going to be writing in this series are C programs and not C++. Falcon C++ can be used to write programs using C++ programming language, and you can also use it to write or code C programs. We are going to see how we do it. Now, this IDE contains the various options that we have well discussed. Under File menu, you can see we have this menu, we have File menu. So you click on File. Under it, you'll be able to see various options. Like we have New, which when you point it to, will give you various options like Project. We have C file, we have C++ file, header file, and the others. Under Open, you can see we have Open. If you click on Open, it will take you to various options for browsing in your computer, from where you can be able to open any program that you might have coded before. For example, we can see a number of them in this computer. Then, next, we have reopen. If you want to open a file that you have already opened before. So if you point here, you can see we have some, like there's this file here. So if you want to reopen it, we can always click on it. Now, you can see save, save as, save all are in gray. They are not active because I have not yet started to create any file. Once we begin creating our source file, you are going to see that they will be active. We have import, and you can see various options there. You can even import a C program that you have written using another IDE or another language. In other words, you can even import a project that you have created using, like, for example, C++, Microsoft Visual C++. Then we have these other options here. Under Edit menu, you can see we have very many options here that we have discussed, but most of them are gray because we have not started any specific file. And as such, you can be able to perform those activities there. Under View, remember, if something is not displayed, it is not ticked here. So if you click on any option, for example, if I click on Compiler Output, you can see I'm being able to display this part of the screen here. If I want to hide it, I'll just click on what has been checked. For example, if I want to hide the compiler output, if I click there, you can see it will be displayed. If I click again, you can see it is still there. Now, simply, this option is used. Let me, for example, uncheck this one, which is already there. Remember, some of these tools will be active when you create your file. For now, I have not created any file. That's why, for example, some of them don't have any tick or checkpoint or check mark, like compile output. However, if I want to remove some, for example, you can see if I remove the search bar here, I will just need to click it. If I click on it, you will see that it has been hidden. Let me click on project bar. If I click this one, you can see, I don't know whether you can see the part of the screen that is being hidden. But let me check them back. Simply, my dear students and the rest of the learners, if anytime you're working in your program and you don't see some parts of some of the toolbars, you can always come and check them if they are not checked. For example, if I click on outline here, I click on view, then outline. Then if I click again, I click on status bar, you can see a bar has disappeared. So let me just restore them. You can see this bar has appeared. If I click on outline, you can see those options are being added there. Now, in a nutshell, of course, I have said some of those parts may not be active and you may not be able to see them because I have not begun any program for now. Once you begin working on a source file, you'll be able to see the difference. Then under project, we have these options. At Run menu, we have these options, but no, they are not active for now. Under Tools, we have these options. Under Help, we have these options. So generally, this is the environment, or this is what we call the Falcon IDE. We are going to learn more about this IDE as we proceed in our series of presentations. So, my dear students and the rest of the learners, that's how you load Falcon C++, and those are the paths. Now, once you have loaded your IDE, your Falcon is ready, is loaded, you then need to proceed and create a C file in readiness for coding. So how do you move on to create or write your source code? So once Falcon C++ window is displayed, you click on File menu, then point on New, and click on Project. Remember, it's always good to organize your files in form of projects. And therefore, don't be a person or a student who just rushes to create a file, a C file, without associating it to any project. Always organize your files in form of project if those files are supposed to perform the same activity. If not, let each file have its own project. It's always advisable to organize your source files in projects. So from the new project window, you click on Empty Project, and then you click Next. Remember, this must always be the process that you need to follow before you begin writing your C program. Next, you type the name for your project and the project name. You type the name for your project and the project name. Then, under compiler type, you select C. Note this. Remember, we are making use of Falcon C++ IDE, but the programs we are going to be writing or coding are for C. And therefore, it is always important that you select the appropriate compiler. Falcon makes use or enables two types of compilers. It enables the C++ compiler and the C compiler. So if you are writing your programs in C, let your project be for files in C. And for that to happen, you need to select C and the compiler type. Once you do that, you click on Finish. From there, you right-click on the name for your project. Then point on New and click on C File. You type your source code and you save it by clicking on Save icon, or by clicking on File menu and selecting on Save command. Then from the Save As dialog box displayed, you can browse for the location for your source file. Then type its name and the file name, and you click on Save. To change the name of a file, just right-click on its name and your project pane. Click on Rename, then type its new name and click anywhere on your editor. Ladies and gentlemen, my dear students and the rest of the learners, let us see how you create a C file in readiness for coding using Falcon IDE. So how do we proceed? So let me demonstrate to you, my dear students and the rest of the learners, what I've already explained. So you open your Falcon C++. This is where we are. Now, once you have loaded your IDE and you want to create your first file, or you want to write your source file, in other words, you want to create your C program, you proceed as follows. You click on File menu, and then you point on New. Under New, you click on Project. Kindly note, we are not clicking on C file. We are clicking on Project. You click on the project. Once you have clicked on the project, this dialog box here, or this window, will appear. Under the new project, you click on Empty Project. You click on Empty Project. And then you click on Next. Then under this window here, you can see we have application. Here you don't need to change anything. We have company. Don't bother with the company. Don't bother with the description of the project. Don't bother with the version. Don't bother with the project name. Our interest is here. Project name here. So you click at the end of this part, you press backspace key on your keyboard. So on your keyboard, there is the key above the enter key. It is written backspace, or it has an arrow which is pointing, a long arrow pointing from right to left, and it is directly above the enter key. So you delete the text there, and then you give your project a name. Kindly note, give your project name, a name that can be able to tell you what your program will be doing. Give meaningful names that indicate your project or the work of your program. For example, if you want to write a program for welcome, I will call my project welcome. So you just type welcome and a name. And then look here, we have the compiler type. This part here is very important. If you don't choose the appropriate compiler, you can see by default, it will be C++. And that will mean that most of your programs, when you code them in C, they may not run. And therefore, you must select the appropriate compiler, and the appropriate option is this one. So under compiler type, make sure you click on C. And then once you have done that, you can click on Finish. My dear students and the rest of the learners, once you have clicked on Finish, you'll be able to see this option here, or this icon here, under Projects. This simply tells you that now you have a project, and the name of your project is Welcome. So anytime you create a project in Falcon, it will be displayed at this point. So any program that you're going to write must be placed within this project. That is, the programs for welcoming. Remember, every program must have its own project, but if you have several programs under the same project, then have all your files under that project. So what do you do to ensure that the files you create are in your project? So you right-click on the name of your project here. You right-click on it. And right-clicking is simply pointing on the name of your project. And then in your mouse, you have two buttons. There's one button on that is facing your right-hand side, and there's another one that is facing the left-hand side. So right-clicking is pressing that button of your mouse, which is on your right-hand side, based on the arrangement of your fingers. So Once you right click, you point on new. You point on new, and then you click now on C file. So let's click on C file. Once you have clicked on C file, you can see that's where we are. On top here, you can see that the name of our file is main.c. This is the same name here. But because this is the default file, you need to change that name to reflect the name of the file that you want to create. So what you need to do is you need to right-click on this name, then you click on rename. Why? So that you give your file a name that indicates what your file will be doing. So if the file that you want to create will be for welcoming somebody, so you type on your keyboard the name as welcome. The name of your project and the name of the file can be the same or they can be different. So if I want to write a program for welcoming you, it's always good to rename my C file to welcome. Once you are done with the typing, you click on an empty space there. And with that, your file is ready. You can see the name of our file now is welcome.c. So every C file has .c extension. And therefore, my dear students and the rest of the learners, that is how you create a file in readiness for coding. If you want to save this file in a certain specific location, you click on File menu, and then you click on Save As. Once you click on Save As, you can browse in your computer to wherever you want to place your files. Then you open, and then, for example, I can keep my files under this folder in Kabune TTI. And then I can click, for example, on C. That is the folder in which I want to keep my files. And then you can change the name of your file and a file name, or you just retain it as it is. So because what I'm changing is the location or storage location for my file, I don't need to change the name. So what I just need to do is to ensure that I open that folder and then I type the name of my file. But is my file supposed to be welcome just that way? Or it's supposed to have .c extension? You can see this is Falcon project file. So I'll just click on save. That is the project. What about the file? If you right click, you can see what we are getting. So you can still click on file menu and then click on, if you are already clicked on save, it will remain. But if you want to save all, you can save. Remember, you have already saved our file, so you cannot save it again. It's already saved. So my dear students and the rest of the learners, simply that is how you create a file in readiness for writing your program. So our ID is ready. You can see our name of the file is ready. What is now missing or what is remaining is to type the code here, and the code which you type must be in the grammatical rules for C programming. In other words, you write using the appropriate syntax. So my dear students and the rest of the learners, that is how you make or you prepare your Falcon IDE to be ready for coding, and that's how you create a file in readiness for writing your set of instructions into it. And therefore, my dear students and the rest of the learners, we have come to the end of part 1 of the series, in which we have simply learned about Introduction to C, the IDE called Falcon, and how you create a file in readiness for writing your source code. You can now proceed to part 2 of the series, in which we are going to learn how to write a program in C by learning what we call the structure or the format of a C program. Congratulations there for learning part 1 of 29 on preparing to code a C program in Fundamentals of Structured Programming using C. You can access the rest of the parts in the series, as well as other computer or ICT videos by clicking or tapping on MLSwap ICT YouTube channel below this video. To subscribe to the channel, tap on subscribe button below this video in YouTube if it's not currently reading as subscribed. For any further correspondence, kindly write it to us through the email mlswap@gmail.com. Thank you very much for listening to me. Let's meet in part 2 of the series, and God bless.